Hi everyone, so for this project you'll need weight 4 yarn in the shades red, white, green, and then just a little bit of pink for the nose, stuffing, scissors, yarn needles, 8mm safety eyes, a 4mm crochet hook, and a 1mm crochet hook. So first we're going to do the ears, and try to leave the tail a little long because we're going to use that to sew the ears in, so I have a couple inches. And then you're going to chain 3, and inside that second chain you're going to put a single crochet. And then in the next chain, you'll put another single crochet. You have 2 single crochets. You're going to turn your work. Normally you would chain 2 or chain 1 or whatever, but to make it look more even, we're going to do something a little different. You're going to stick your hook into the stitch. You're going to pull through, and you're going to pull through again. And that'll make it look like a little crochet there. Or like a little stitch there. That makes it look more even. And then go ahead and do a single crochet in the next stitch. Like that. And again, turn your work, stick your hook in, pull through again. And then in the next stitch as well. And this is going to be our last row, so turn over. And this time we're going to do that same thing we did where we pull through twice, but in the next stitch we're just going to do a slip stitch, which will make it look more rounded. And then you can go ahead and pull through, cut your yarn, and then make one more of these for the ears. For the legs, we're going to make a magic circle with 5 single crochets. So chain 1, and then put 5 single crochets into your magic circle. You're going to end with a slip stitch into the very first single crochet you did. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then for the next 3 rows, you're just going to put 1 single crochet into each stitch. So pretty simple, but what I like to do, I like to turn the legs inside out just because I feel like this way looks a little messier, so that's why I like to put it inside out. But if you like how that looks, that's also totally fine. So let me show you how I flip it. So I just finished my second row. I'm just going to flip it like that, and then put my hook into that very first stitch, which is a little hard, so I like to like pull it out a bit and just be able to get my hook in there first. And then I'll pull it a bit more. That way there's just a little like place where I can put my hook in. And then I continue as normal. But again, you don't have to flip it inside out if you don't want to. Alright, so I finished my last row. You don't really need this string, so I'm just going to trim it a bit so it doesn't get in the way. You can use this to kind of stuff your rabbit when you're done. I'm going to end with a slip stitch, and then I'm going to leave the tail a little long because that's what I'm going to use to sew the leg onto the bunny. So you'll go ahead and make 2 of these, 1 for each leg. Alright, so now we're going to make the arms, which is exactly the same as the legs, except we do 4 single crochets instead of 5. So I did a chain 1, and I'm going to do 4 single crochets, and I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to have a total of 3 rows. There's 4 single crochet, pull to tighten, and then for the next, this is row 1, for the next 2 rows, I'm just going to put 1 single crochet into each stitch. And, you know, if you want to flip it inside out, you can do that as well. So I finished the arm, and then you're going to pull through and leave the strand a bit long, just so that we can sew it on. So go ahead and make 2 of the arms. So now we kind of finished all the limbs. For the head, we're going to make a magic ring. and then chain 1 and put in 10 single crochets. Alright, so that's 10. I went ahead and tightened it. Now you're going to go ahead and go into the very first stitch of the 10. You're going to chain 1, and the next row will have increases in every stitch. So what that means that each stitch will have 2 single crochets, and you will end up with a total of 20 stitches for row 2. So go ahead and do row 2, and I'll see you when I'm done. Okay, so I finished my second row. Now you're going to go ahead and go into the first stitch, and for the next 2 rows, you're going to chain 1 and put 1 single crochet into each stitch. So that's going to be for rows 3 and 4. And then after you finish that, we're going to go ahead and put the ears on, just because it's easier to do it here. Alright, so now we're going to put our ears on, but first we're going to just weave the ends in if you haven't already. So just take your smaller hook and just kind of like pull it through any loops. It doesn't have to be done like extremely well. So like that looks kind of secure. I think I'll put it through one more. But yeah, go ahead and do this to both ears, and then we will sew the ears on the head. Now we're going to sew the ears in, and we're going to do that in the space between the first and second row, there, and the space between the third and fourth row. So let me show you what I mean. Also, I prefer to keep the kind of chain facing the back, so that way the front of the face stays cute. Alright, so go ahead and grab an ear. And I'm going to start working from the outside. And I think I'm going to put the ear maybe somewhere over there. I think that looks good. Oh, and the other thing, I prefer to have this facing the outside, just because it's a little longer on this side, so it'll help the ear kind of like stay up. You're just going to grab your hook, and keep in mind where you want to put your ear. I think I'm going to put my ear kind of along this line. So I'm going to stick it in just a random hole between the third and fourth row. It'll stay there. Now I'm going to go up into between the second and third row, stick my needle through, and sew it in place. So I'll go into the ear so that it'll be in place. And then again, between the second and third row, I'll stick my needle down there again. And then I'll do one more stitch, this time between the first and second row. I'll stick it like right maybe there. Stick it through the ear. And then stick it into the hole next to it. And then we have one ear in. So now we'll go ahead and do the same for the other ear. For the other ear, just keep in mind that you want to keep it symmetrical. A lot of the times I'll put the ear in like a funky place just by accident. And now you have your 2 ears on. And the way we're going to tie it, I think maybe my way is a little unconventional. I'm just going to take the tail from my magic ring, and I'm just going to tie them together. I feel like that's the easiest way. I'll do the same for the other ear. Alright, and then you'll be done with the ears. Now, I'm going to trim this a little bit just because it's getting a little long, maybe a bit in the way. And so far we've done 2 rows with no increases. We're going to do 3 more. So we want a total of 7 rows. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to do 3 more for a total of 7. And then once you finish that, we can go ahead and put on the eyes and the nose, and then we'll finish off the head. Okay, so I finished the other 3 rows. You can just pull this thread out a bit. We'll continue later. But for putting on the eyes, we're going to go in this 5th line. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this row, and I kind of put them anywhere, but the thing you want to keep in mind, maybe I'll put one here for now. The thing you want to keep in mind is you want an even number of these little holes between the eyes, because we want to be able to put the nose in there, and the nose will take up 2 spaces. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, then I'd have to put the eye there. So let me shift the eye over 1. So it's kind of like trial and error. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and I could put one eye there. That looks good. Yeah. So again, in the 5th line down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then you want to have 4 of those little holes between it. So the holes are those places where you can kind of like poke your hook into. So once your eyes are in and you're sure they're where you want them, you can go ahead and put the backings on. And then we'll go ahead and do the nose. So for the nose, you can go ahead and grab your yarn needle and put on your little bit of pink yarn. And what you're going to do, we wanted an even number here. So notice that there's a hole right there, and there's a hole right there. And then there's kind of a hole underneath it. So you're going to poke under from the hole underneath it. You're going to pull through. You're going to go into, because there's 4, right? So like we have like 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're going to go into the 3rd one. You're going to pull through it twice. So I did 1. I'm going to go back under through that original hole we went in. And I'm going to pull through again into that same hole, the 3rd hole at the 5th line. Pull through one more time, and you want them to kind of like be next to each other, not on top of each other. All right, 2 more, but this time with the 2nd hole. So go ahead and go through the bottom hole one more time. And this will kind of give it like a triangle shape. So anyways, put your needle in that 2nd hole right there. Pull through. And go one more time in that hole. Pull through one more time. So now your bunny's nose should look pretty full and triangular. And to tie it off, you're going to go behind, and you're just going to tie these 2 strings together. Alright, so for the first row of decreases, we're going to have 2 of them. For the first one, you're going to chain 1 and put in a single crochet. And you're going to do decreases in every other stitch. So I just did 1 single crochet. In my next stitch, I'm going to do a decrease. So I'm going to go into the front loop of my first stitch, right, because I have 2 loops, right, the front loop and a back loop. I'm going to go only into the front loop. Then I'm going to go into the front loop of the stitch next to it. I'm going to pull through the 2 front loops, and I'm going to pull through everything. So I had a single crochet, a decrease, next is a single crochet, next is a decrease, taking the 2 front loops, pulling through the front loops, then pulling through everything. So that was a decrease, now I do a single crochet. And you're going to do this all the way for this row. Alright, so I finished this row of decreases. I'm going to end with a slip stitch into that first single crochet we did. Then I'm going to chain 1. In the next row, we're going to do a decrease in every stitch. So you're going to grab the first front loop, going to grab the 2nd front loop, pull through both of them, and pull through again. And you're going to do these decreases all the way around. Alright, so I finished this row of decreases. Now I'm just going to stick it into, I think it's the first stitch we did. I'm not entirely sure, but it doesn't matter. And then you're going to pull through, slip stitch, and make the string kind of long, because this is how we're going to sew the head on. Just cut it. And you're done with the head. Okay, so for the body, I switched to pink just because I wanted to add a little variation to mine, but you can do red. We're going to make a magic circle. Inside the magic circle, you're going to make a chain 1 and then 8 single crochets into the magic circle space. Alright, so I have 8 single crochets. I'm going to tighten it. And in row 2, we're going to put an increase in each stitch. So, go ahead and do a slip stitch in your first single crochet, chain 1, and then put 2 single crochet into each stitch, and you'll have a total of 16. Okay, so I finished row 2. I'm going to end with a slip stitch into the first single crochet that I did. And then for the next 3 rows, you're going to do a chain 1 and 1 single crochet into each stitch for the next 3 rows. And then after you do that, we will go ahead and put some of the seeds on and also put on the legs. And just another note, for the body, like with the head and with the legs, I like to turn it inside out. So I'll keep my work where it'll start going up like this so that the outside will look like this. Okay, so I finished 5 rows, including the 3 that we just did. Now you're going to just pull your yarn a bit long, grab your needles, then grab one of the 2 legs, then put it on your needle. We're going to start sewing the legs on. So I like to have the legs kind of sticking out so that it looks like my little bunny sitting, but you can have them like straight down however you want. I'll just show you how I do them. So we're going to have the legs kind of in the line between the 2nd and 3rd stitch and the 3rd and 4th, the 2nd and 3rd row and the 3rd and 4th row. So in these kind of 2 lines. So they stick out like that. They're kind of sitting at kind of like a 90-degree angle, I guess. All right, so let's go ahead and try that. Again, the back will face the back. We're going to have it between rows 2 and 3 and then 3 and 4. So I'm just going to go ahead and stick it like right there maybe. I think that looks fine. I'm going to stick my hook in, pull through. Then I'm going to go stick my hook in this next line. I'm going to stick it through the leg, through one of the stitches. I'm going to pull through. Put my needle back in so it stays. And yeah, you're just going to kind of sew them on. Hopefully this should be okay. You have some background in sewing. If not, as long as it's secure on the leg, that's really, secure on the body, that's really all that matters. I never really learned how to stitch stuff together. I just kind of just go with the flow. So you don't have to know what you're doing. It will be okay. Okay, looks like it's almost on. You want to make sure it's secure. You can kind of like tug on it, so that seems pretty secure. All right, so there's one leg. Now I'm going to do the other one. All right, I finished putting both my legs on. And now we'll go ahead and tie these. So turn your work kind of inside out. And I like to use a needle for this. What you're going to do, you're going to kind of just like tie a knot. We want to make sure the knot is secure. So when you put the leg on, you should have a bunch of like stitches, right? I like to tuck my needle under one of those stitches. It's a little tight. And once I get it under there, I'm going to pull that yarn through, not all the way, but just so that I can make a little kind of loop. So I have a loop that's now under that stitch. And I just kind of wrap my yarn around, stick my needle through that loop to make a little knot. So that way my leg is secured. And I'll just trim that. I'll do the same with the other one. So again, you're going to take your needle, You're gonna find any random stitch. I'll just go under this one. Now you have this loop. Wrap your yarn around, stick your needle through, and then pull to tighten the knot. And we're done putting the legs on. You can flip it back inside out. So now that the legs are on, we're just gonna do a little bit of the seeds. So once you grab your white yarn, we'll put the seeds on. We have 3 rows of seeds, starting with the 3rd row, and then from every other one there. So it'll be 3, 5, and 7 that have seeds. We'll do row 3 for now. And the other thing is that row 3 is where the legs are, so it makes it a little tougher. But you're just going to take your needle, go inside, just pick a random spot to start. So I want to start from a bottom, right under row 3, and pull my needle through. Then I'm going to put my needle in the hole right above the hole I just put my needle in. And that's going to be 1 seed. At this point, you can go ahead and take those 2 ends of the string that you just put the seed, you just made the seed with, and you can tie it. That way everything will be secure. And you'll just continue. You can kind of put them wherever you want, and I think you don't have to do this, but I think I'm going to just double up. So I'm going to put 2 stitches just to make the seeds a little more visible, because I think my pink is really light. You can just do 1. For this one, I just did 1, but I'm going to do 2 for this one. And you can just make them like 3 or 4 stitches apart. I'm not really counting. I just kind of put them wherever I feel like, and that'll be fine. Alright, so I finished putting all my seeds on. You can take your needle off, but still keep the white yarn there, because we'll still need it. So you can kind of like tuck it inside, just to keep it a little bit hidden, so that way it doesn't get in your way. And now we're going to do 2 more rows. Same thing as we did before, just chain 1 and 1 single crochet in each stitch. So that's going to be for the next 2 rows. Okay, so I finished the next 2 rows. You can kind of pull your string a little long. And now we're going to do more seeds. So go ahead and grab the yarn that you tucked away inside and your needle. And remember, we're going to skip a row. So before we put the seeds in the 3rd row, now we're going to put it in the 5th row. You can just kind of start from anywhere. I like to have them a little offset. So this one is right here, so I'm not going to put a seed above it. I'm just going to put one like right here. I'm going to double up on them. A little inconvenient with the legs, but anyways. Alright, there's a seed. I'll put one like right there maybe. Why not? Okay, so I finished all the seeds. I'm going to just tuck that yarn back in. We'll still use it for later. And we're going to have 1 row of decreases now. So go ahead and chain 1. Put a single crochet in the 1st stitch and a decrease in the next. Right? Decrease going to the front loop of 1 stitch, front loop of the next, pull through the front loops, pull through both. And that's the pattern. Single crochet, decrease, single crochet, decrease. Alright, so I finished my row of decreases. I'm going to end it with a slip stitch, and then I'm going to put my arms on. So go ahead and you can end this with a little slip stitch. Don't pull it too tight, because we still have to put his little like green collar thing on, if you want to. If not, you can just end it here. And then I'm going to grab an arm, and this arm, we're gonna put it, we're gonna put it between this line right under the row of decreases, and then that line right below it. It's going to stick right over there. All right, and I had my arms sticking kind of like outwards, but again, you can have your arms however you want. I'm going to go ahead and just keep them there. I think it's cute. So I'm going to stick my needle into that second line from the top. And I'm just going to put them on. Okay, so this arm is on, and we're going to tie it like last time. Do your best to flip it inside out. It's going to be a little harder now. Find a stitch. Put your needle under. Then go ahead and tie a knot. Yeah. I'm going to trim that. Keep it out of the way. Then I'm going to put my other arm on. Alright, so I've put my other arm on, and it's all secure. And if you remember, we still have that bit of string inside from when we were doing the seeds. We're going to go ahead and put on the last row of seeds. So we did it in 3rd row, 5th row, now we're going to go into the 7th row. I'll put one like right here. Again, you just kind of do them randomly. Okay. So I finished putting on my last row of seeds, and now I'm going to take a little bit of green yarn. This is optional, but to just make it look like a strawberry, you're going to kind of undo that little slip stitch and stick your hook into the loop of the little body. Pull to tighten, and then you're going to pull the green yarn through. And just to make sure it's secure, you can tie the pink and the green yarn together. And now you're going to put an increase in every stitch. So 2 single crochet in each stitch. So chain 1, and then 2 single crochet into each stitch all the way around. All right, so I finished the green. Now I'm going to do a slip stitch and pull through, and I can cut it. This one we're not going to use it to sew anything, so you don't have to keep it that long. And then just to make sure that it stays inside, I'm just going to grab my smaller hook and thread it in a little bit. So now that I'm done with that, let's go ahead, put it together. Okay, so I stuffed the head. I'm just going to put a little bit of stuffing in the body. I don't want to overflow it just yet because when we sew it, some of it might like pop out and it'll be kind of annoying. But just a little bit. Really pack it in there. Cool. Alright, so go ahead and grab your needle. Your head. We'll fill the body in later when our head is mostly on. There is no correct way to do this. Again, I just kind of improvise with it. But just really important, just try to keep the head forward. That's really the only thing you need to worry about. If the head is on securely and is facing forward, that's perfection. All right, so my thread is at the back here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to reach in, and I have, right, this pink and this green. Just to show you, I'm going to take my needle, put it inside, go in between the pink and the green, and then go back inside. Let me orientate myself a bit. I think that's good. And we're going to go into the next stitch. You can kind of lift the head up as you go, just so you can see what you're doing. Pull through. And then I'm going to go into my head and just pull through a stitch. This way the head will stay on securely. And you're just gonna do it that way. And always checking that your head is facing forward. I think mine is a little lopsided right now. Yeah, just make sure it's facing forward. Alright, so I've sewed most of it on. I still have a little bit of space left, but as you can see, it's mostly facing forward. Maybe not, but that's okay. But I had most of it sewed on, so now I'm just gonna stuff the remaining into the little hole that I have left. So stuff it to be as firm as you want. And when you're done, you can just go ahead and finish sewing. All right, so the head is on perfectly. Like if I pull it, it's, you know, it's there. That's good. Now I pulled my thread through the white part of the head. And now I'm just going to pick a little stitch in the back of the head. Doesn't matter what, as long as it's like a loop. Maybe like this one. I'm going to tie a knot the same way we've been doing before, where I have the loop. I wrap the yarn around the loop and stick the needle through to make a knot. It should be pretty invisible. So now that there's a knot there, you're just going to stick your needle in the nearest hole and just go all the way through till you're able to get out of the head. And just pull it kind of tight, and then you can just cut it, and then it'll just like stick in the head. So yeah, that is how you make the bunny. If you have any questions, let me know. If you like the video, please like it. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I hope you enjoy your little bunny.